Welcome to our Trade to Developer podcast. My name is Suzanne Elsey.
My name is Craig Shields, and we've often been asked to share how we've transitioned from trade to developer. We're now ready to reveal all.
This podcast is about our deal, which was called Walnuts, and it was found on Rightmove, funnily enough, this one, by my husband Dan. It just popped up. He looks every day, and it popped up and he said, "Oh, this looks interesting." So we had a quick look, we did our numbers, and you obviously went along really early the next day, didn't you?
Yeah, it got to move fast with these deals. So because the thing we were looking at the time, there wasn't much around at the time.
No.
So that's why I got down there just before it was dark. Just before it was dark, sunrise was coming up, and it was still dark. That's what I meant to say. And had a quick look at the land to see that if it was what it was saying it was. And yeah, so obviously we didn't get hold of the agent till 9 o'clock that morning, I don't think. And we managed to get hold of him. I'm not sure if we came down to the land that day, did he? We made an offer straight away because obviously we could see the land. So the reason for going down and having a look at the land was you can walk around the outside of the site to see if there was any services. Some of the biggest things for me for when we're doing the new builds is how much the service is going to cost. Is it local, and is it going to be able to get into the property quite easy, which it was. It was on a main road. There was water connections along there we could see, and we could do our numbers because it was a new build. So we pretty much put the offer in before we viewed it with the agent. So we went back and then obviously just walked across the fence. It was quite easy to look at. So we made the offer quite quickly, got accepted, and it was £350,000.
Yeah.
So obviously we then got the planning for that. But at the time we had another property that had been delayed, that we wanted to use the equity out of that to fund this one. So what we've done is we spoke to a lender that we normally work with, and he came up with a deal for us to purchase the land with equity from our other property and give us the build loan, because they give 100% build loans. So normally it's 65% loan to value on development loans. So we would then have to fund the remaining bit, which is where the equity bit come in. And then the development loan came in, we purchased the land, and we had the build loan in place, which I think was for Suzanne.
The loan itself was for 700, and then we topped it up to 725.
Yeah. So that was for new builds, and we had to go back into building regs to get things ordered because we wanted to do it out of timber frame. We wanted to go up quite quickly, didn't we? So we had to go back to our architect because it already had drawings. We bought it with planning, with drawings, and we went to our architect to get the building regs done. So we wanted to do it as timber frame because it was brick and cladding, and it was only cladding on the front. So we decided we were going to do brick all along on the first floor and cladding all on the top floor. So when we actually looked at the construction, we were like, well, we're probably better off doing it out of timber frame. So we had a timber frame company come in and give us the option of doing that. So they provided their own structural drawings, and we done a block and beam floor. That was right. And then they came along and erected it. But at that time, as it was being erected, building regs changed. We were so unlucky on this one that
it was about 2 weeks.
The building regs, when we put in for the building control, the building regs changed a week before. So we had all new SAPs and all new building regs.
But we didn't know it at the time.
We didn't know it at the time when we purchased it, at the time we bought this. So I think it took 6 months to purchase, didn't it? So the time that we were talking about when we was at the land, we see it, made the offer, got the build loan in place, took 6 months to purchase it. Time we got it through solicitors and everything, then we started on with the build, and that's when that happened. So we had to upgrade the heating system.
We had to put in a special air source heat pump that was on the inside. Yeah,
and inside on top of the cylinder. And we had to put solar panels on, and we had to upgrade the insulation on all. So we had the timber frame company drop the building off, and that's SIPS build, so it's insulated SIPS panels. but it didn't meet regs. So we had to put another 50 mil of insulation on the inside, which you shouldn't have to do with timber frame. It should just come be fitted and you start carrying on like a refurb sort of thing. So we had to upgrade that, which was a lot more cost. We had to upgrade insulation in the loft. And the new regs also, with the SAPs, made it pretty much, we had to be almost airtight, which by this time, to build an almost airtight building pretty much has to start on the drawing board with the architect. But by this point, we had 2 buildings that was erected in timber frame. We had windows ordered for, we had roofs going on and brickwork going up, and it was being built. So we had to go with it and work the hard way.
We did, and actually the SAPS guys themselves advised us that as much as the regulations changed, their system hadn't updated with all the changes. So they were really struggling to actually do the calculations they needed to give us the information. We waited probably about 2 months,
We did.
To get the updated information whilst still trying to push the job forward.
Yeah.
Which was really frustrating, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's taken us 7 years to make the transition from working with clients through to developing our own portfolio, and we can speed that up for you. If any of this resonates, please do register now and we can help you transition yourself from trade to developer in just 12 months.
Obviously, we stacked this deal at the beginning to sell, so obviously our build costs started to go up higher and higher, which we wasn't anticipating. Managed to do the jobs. We cut down on certain areas. We wanted to go a bit more extravagant on the back garden, which we didn't, and I think we kept the cost down on the inside with clip vinyl, some other clip vinyl herringbone flooring, didn't we? But we kept it pretty much standard.
Kitchen prices reduced a little bit too.
So we had to reduce stuff in some areas on the second fix, which we did. And then at the moment, so then we got them finished. We got them. So it was so hard to get them signed off. So with the new building regs and this new SAPs, I was saying a minute ago, it needed to be pretty much airtight. We were going round unscrewing pendants, masticing where the cables are coming through the walls, and the niches in the bathrooms were letting air through. Obviously, you have to do an air test on every new build anyway, but this one in particular was pretty much very strict. So we managed to get, I think it took us 2 attempts to get through. We got the air test put through, and once it's done, we stacked the numbers, and actually the market's moved slightly. So we actually got some decent mortgages on them first time round. And we put a service provider in there. It's a care home company, and there's assisted living. So they've decided to take it off of us for 5 years with a 3-year break we got for an increase. So that's great for us. We've got tenants in there for the next 5 years, and our first mortgages we had fell over because they didn't like the care home.
They didn't like the fact it said care in the title of the company. That was the reason, unfortunately. So we got literally to the day they were drawing the money, and that's when they pulled it. So they didn't do it right at the beginning. They waited till all the way at the end. So we've had to go back and redo that with a different lender. But we also had the extra cost on the services, didn't we? Yeah. Because the connection to the drainage was 6 meters down. Yeah. And it looked like a mine, didn't it? When they dug down.
Something that we couldn't take into consideration when walking around was that we didn't know the depth of the main sewers, which you're not going to know, are you? So so when we done the connection, so they had to dig down 6 meters internally on our site and then tunnel underneath the road, which was a much easier way and cheaper way of doing it. And it worked well, but that was another £40,000 to the cost. With the added solar as well, went up. But we've
got an A-rated property.
We've got an A-rated property, and we have stacked it to keep the property, and we've got a long-term tenant in there. So obviously from a strategy at the beginning for trying to sell, one of the reasons why we didn't was our tax purposes, really. We thought we were going to lose too much on the tax. Where we spend too much out on the build, too much out, the build cost went up. Actually, the profit was going to make, and what we'd have lost in tax, we thought it would be better just to keep for long term and then let the properties can go up over the next 5 to 10 years. Generally, obviously, properties seem to double in every 10 years. Is that will then give us our added extra cost back. So we're going to grow it back in the equity, really. And we've got something towards our portfolio. So it was a great project, and they're lovely buildings and all.
Yeah,
so,
really nice houses.
So they're all
really
on our
nice
website.
houses. And I tweet the interiors, obviously.
Obviously.
Because that's what I do.
Obviously.
That's my favourite bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the deal as it stacked was 350 buy, 725 build costs and all the additional consulting fees, etc., and legal fees, stamp duty, etc. And then they were originally valued with a GDV of 485. However, we achieved 585, which was a great result on each property. So that's over £1 million portfolio with those 2 buildings, which is brilliant.
Thank you all for listening, and thank you all for your support, and please subscribe to the upcoming podcasts.
Just remember the famous quote from Henry Ford: if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got.